What is going on, everybody? Today we are going to be talking about my new bike, the 2023 KTM 500 EXC. It's what we are riding right now, and this is like the third time I've tried to film this. First time I didn't really like how it came out. Second time my audio decided it didn't want to work, so hopefully the audio works and sounds decent, and I should be pretty well rehearsed. So let's go ahead. We're getting into this ride right now, and we're going to talk a little bit about the bike. So I have had it for about a month, got about 700 miles, about 16-ish hours on it, and got some thoughts. First off, love the bike. It's freaking amazing. This is my first dual sport bike, not my first dirt bike or street bike, but first dual sport. Now, I'm not a big dirt bike expert by any means. I don't really know technical stuff about dirt bikes and stuff. I'm more into the street bike world, but this thing is pretty sweet. So it's the 500cc enduro slash dual sport bike. It comes with some pretty aggressive knobby tires on it, which they do pretty good off-road. I have some footage off-road that I can throw up there, but it does pretty good on the street as well. The front tire was replaced when I got it because it had a recall on it, so it has more of like what comes on the 890 Adventures and stuff like that. It has more of a like a half street, half off-road, but more street oriented tire on the front, but it still has the TKC 80 knobby tire on the back. For a single cylinder dirt bike, it's got all the power you would ever need. There's not really much out there that would be more powerful than this besides like a 690 or a 701 or some more exotic things like an Aprilia or something. Let's talk about comfort for a minute, because you don't really get that. You don't really get a lot of comfort on this thing, but as you see back there, you definitely have some fun throwing this thing around. The seat is normal dirt bike seat, hard, narrow, got a nice grippy texture to it, so you're not sliding around, so it is a nice gripper seat. And this thing's not really meant to be like a road riding bike. I mean, it's kind of meant to, you do your enduro racing and your off-road stuff, and then you can just kind of go in between trails on the roads. That's kind of the reason why it's street legal. That's what I like about it being a dual sport, is you can literally take it anywhere. Like, I could just take it out in the field or whatever on a trail, take it racing, and take it right back on the road and have just as much fun. But getting back to comfort, the seat, you get used to it after a while. It is pretty hard when you first get it. About 15 minutes of riding when I first brought it home from the dealer, I was ready to get the heck off of this thing. Another con of the comfort on this bike is going to be the vibrations. It is a big old 500cc single cylinder engine, so it vibrates. Dare I say, shakes a lot. You can definitely feel every single stroke on that engine through the seat, the pegs, and especially the handlebars. Now, when you're kind of low, this is 6th gear. Like, my mirror I could see pretty clearly out of down here. This is not the factory mirror. That is a replacement. I took the factory mirrors, they come up about here. So, they're pretty big and ugly, but I took those off. When you're going about 60 and your revs are a little bit higher, your mirrors are shaking pretty bad. They're basically useless. You can't see anything out of them. But when you're running about 50 mile an hour like this in 6th gear, the vibrations aren't that bad. There's just a slight rumble through the whole bike. But this is not a comfort-oriented bike, obviously. It's meant to race, do off-road stuff, and be very good at it. The brakes are okay. I guess they would be good for off-road stuff because you don't really need a super powerful brake system for off-road stuff. But for the street, they get the job done. I've just kind of gave myself a little bit of extra braking distance with this bike because the brakes are pretty small, especially the front brake. They're not extremely powerful like they would be on like a normal street bike, just because it is a dirt bike and it has dirt bike brakes on it, so that real small front rotor. But it does have a Brembo master cylinder, front and rear, and Brembo calipers. So they do pretty good. They're very linear, very smooth feeling. But they definitely get the job done. I don't really have any complaints, because for what they are, they do very good. Clutch also is a Brembo master cylinder up top. Hydraulic clutch, very smooth, very nice. I really am getting spoiled by this because on my Kawasaki it's a cable clutch. This hydraulic clutch is freaking awesome. It's so smooth, and the feedback you get from it is very nice and precise. The throttle feel is also very precise on it. It's super smooth and pretty light throttle. Transmission's nice and smooth. Very close ratios on the gears, so we're like 4th, 5th, and then you hit 6th, and it's kind of your get up and go gear is 6th, or your cruising gear, I should say. Once you hit 6th gear, you can definitely tell it is a lot further away from the rest of the gears. It is a very high gear, kind of meant for if you're on a highway, you're not revving out to the moon while you're on the highway. As far as the dash goes, you don't get much. You just kind of have this little speedometer slash odometer slash hour meter, and you can see down there the turn signal indicator. It doesn't tell you which one is on, it just tells you that it's on, which you don't really need that. So the other lights you get, I believe right here, let's see, yeah, so your high beam light, your check engine light, and also a low fuel light. So that's about all you get on this dash. It's literally all you need. There's no tack, there's no nothing like that. As far as street manners on this bike, it's very lightweight. It flicks into the turns. You kind of just tell it what to do and it does it. It's not really a street bike, but it still feels really good on the street. Like coming into this corner, you just tell it to go this way and it'll go this way. And the feeling of leaning this thing over is kind of different from my street bikes that I have ridden. It feels like you're leaning a lot more than you actually are. You're actually not leaning as much as you would think. It's just because you're so top heavy, and instead of kind of rotating, you're actually like moving a lot more. The engine braking is pretty strong on this thing. Like we're in 5th gear going downhill, and it is slowing down for sure. And it's not harsh engine braking, but it is strong engine braking. Hopefully this guy doesn't pull out in front of me. He should be able to see me. I'm a big freaking orange blob running down the road. So I got my orange jacket and my orange bike, so he should be able to see me. This is also a really tall bike too, so if you're short, you might have trouble riding this thing. But I'm kind of short. I can just kind of tippy-toe it on the side at the stoplight here. This bike's got plenty of power to get up and go. Plenty of power. Yeah, it's pretty punchy. But it is a good putting around town bike if you want something that you can take off-road and putt around town on. This is a pretty good option. It is kind of a pricey option compared to the Honda CRF 450 RL. It is, I would say, a couple $1,000s more. MSRP on this thing, I will have to look and put that in the video. For this bike, I believe it's like somewhere around 13.5-ish. I believe the Honda 450 is around 11.5, so it is a couple $1,000s more. MT-03 that could. We used to have that bike. I don't know if we ever had the MT-03 on the channel, but that used to be my brother's first bike. And I know the guy who we sold it to. Turn onto the highway and see how she does. Go ahead and get going. Get a little pickup test. That was probably about 3/4, 80%, 70-80% throttle, getting up to speed. Very easy, very easy to get up to speed on the highway. Maybe I'll tell it's pretty windy. I'm getting blown around a lot. It is not the greatest bike for the highway, but it can do it, as you can see. So we also got some pretty good plans for this thing. If you guys stay tuned, we're going to be doing some stuff to this. Power stuff, supermoto stuff, body stuff, you know. Just kind of a mild build. But that's probably going to be about it for the road riding comments. I will throw up some footage of some off-road riding and stuff like that, so you guys can see me doing off-road. I might do a little bit of commentaries, voiceover commentary, and let's look at some off-road footage.
Okay, so now we're moving on to the off-road portion here. Once again, the audio was messed up. I had no input from my microphone on my GoPro, so we're going to do a voiceover here just to kind of show you what's going on. I'm entering what's kind of like a little boat ramp down by the river here. It's just gravel and sand mixture kind of stuff here, so that's pretty good going down that gravel. Not too bad. It doesn't slide a whole lot. Keep in mind that front tire is kind of a dual sport tire, so it's not the greatest thing in the world for actually going off road. I mean, it gets the job done, but it doesn't do really good with the aggressive stuff. Now this is just kind of sand here. It's pretty hard packed. You can see where it's kind of wet right there, and the front tire does kind of wash out on that. That dip right there we just went over, did just fine. The suspension kept its composure and didn't really jostle you around too much, so it's not too stiff, not too loose. Does pretty good. As you can see right here, front tire is kind of washing out on that wet sand. And we go over a couple little rocks and stuff here. Seems to do pretty well. It's soaking up those bumps. I think I almost stalled it out there. I think I was in second instead of first. First gear's not extremely low for going over like real slow things, so you will have to do a little bit of clutch work. Once again, a little bit of wet sand here, trying to be careful. Not really anywhere else I can go. I mean, I probably could try and go over those rocks, but I'm not the best rider, so I wasn't going to attempt it. But once you get back on this kind of hard-packed dry sand, it does pretty good. And back to some gravel. Seems to soak up those bumps pretty good, and just enough stiffness to keep it planted. But this is about as far as I went, and then I just turned back around. Just give you kind of an idea of how slick this sand was here. I put my foot down, almost dropped it. My foot slid out, but it's not the greatest conditions for this bike, but it still went across it. No major problems, so I'm happy with how it is. So I'm just gonna ride on back and we will continue the road riding portion.
everybody. Hopefully you stay tuned for the build, and we will see you in the next video.